I sat across from the guy who was sleeping with my wife. Not just across, 3 feet away. A small table. Whiskey glasses. 2 smiles. One real. One calculated. He didn't know who I was. But I knew exactly who he was. I knew his full name, his job, where he lived, what car he drove, what brand of protein powder he used, what kind of watch he wore, and how he kissed my wife when he thought no one was watching. I wasn't here for a confrontation. Not yet. This was research. This woman, he was saying, I swear to God, like something out of a dream. She's married, husband doesn't have a clue. I almost feel bad for the guy. But honestly, she's electric. You don't get that often. I took a sip of my drink. Let the bourbon hit the back of my throat before I responded. Yeah, I said. What makes her different? He grinned, leaned forward like we were college buddies swapping war stories. You know how some women are just available? But this one? She's got layers, man. There's this tension. Like every time we're together, it feels dangerous. She gets this look in her eyes like she's halfway between guilt and craving. That's the magic. It's not just that we've been together, it's that it's forbidden. Like sneaking into somewhere you're not supposed to be. It makes it feel more alive, more charged. It's fire behind a locked door. I nodded. You sound hooked. Hooked? He laughed. Man, I've rearranged my whole week just to see her for an hour. He drank like it was a punchline. And I just looked at him. Not at his eyes, at his teeth, his hands, the way he held his glass. I studied him the way a hunter studies movement in the woods. Careful. Focused. Waiting. It started 3 weeks ago. With a message on her phone. She was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. And something, I don't know what, made me glance. I never checked her phone. That wasn't our thing. But that night, something pulled my eyes to the screen. One message. No name. Just a number. Still can't stop thinking about the way you pulled me back. You taste like trouble. 10 words. That was all it took. I didn't unlock it. Didn't ask questions. I sat there, staring at that preview for a long time. The shower kept running. The air filled with steam. My stomach dropped through the floor. And then, nothing. I didn't do anything. I didn't accuse her. I didn't say a word. I just took a screenshot and emailed it to myself. That night, I lay in bed next to her, pretending to scroll through my phone while my mind replayed that one sentence over and over. You taste like trouble. She slept like a baby. I spent the next 2 days doing what I do best, staying quiet and gathering information. I found him on Instagram. I recognized his profile photo from her likes. He didn't even try to hide it. She liked 20 of his posts in a week. He liked hers back, the ones where she was out with friends, where I wasn't in the photo, where her dress was tighter, her smile less forced. I clicked through his feed. Gym pics. Coaching seminars. Hashtag alpha mindset hashtags. He ran workshops on emotional connection and inner masculine energy. His comments were full of fire emojis and thirsty women, but he replied to only one. My wife. I waited 4 days. Then I DM'd him. Pitched him a story. I told him I ran a company, not a total lie, and that I wanted to collab on a team-building retreat. Something corporate with a personal edge. He was interested. Fast. We set a meeting at a downtown bar. Casual, Friday evening vibe. I booked a booth. Told him drinks were on me. He showed up 5 minutes late, wearing a blazer with a hoodie, like he couldn't decide if he was a CEO or a college dropout. He was charming. Overconfident. The kind of guy who makes eye contact a little too long. The kind who thinks silence means he's winning. We ordered drinks. Talked about vision, authenticity, growth. And somewhere between round 2 and 3, he started talking about her. Not by name. Not even directly. But I knew. She's got this way of pulling you in, he said. You don't chase her. She makes you sit still and wait. And when she finally touches you, man, you feel chosen. He laughed again, like he'd scored something sacred. And I drank again, like I hadn't already planned this entire moment from the first second I saw his name. I stayed quiet through it all. Let him talk. Let him dig. Because the deeper he talked, the clearer it all became. She wasn't innocent. She wasn't trapped. She was participating. Willingly. Enthusiastically. And maybe that's what broke me more than anything else. Not that she betrayed me, but that she wanted to. He called her the best he's ever had. And I poured another drink. He said it casually, like it was just a fun little detail in a story about some woman he happened to be seeing on the side. He didn't know he was talking to the husband. He didn't know he was feeding gasoline to someone who'd been silently burning for weeks. She's got this thing, he said, motioning with his hand like he was trying to draw her silhouette out of thin air. Like when she walks into the room, Everything slows down. She's not trying to be hot. She just is. You ever meet someone like that? I nodded. I had. He laughed again, leaned back in the booth like he'd just won something. And she's smart. Like sharp. Not just book smart. She knows how to look at you and figure out exactly what you want. Then she gives it to you, but only after making you wait. I let the silence stretch, then asked, how'd you two meet? She came to one of my workshops. One of those weekend retreats out in Big Bear. She didn't say much at first, sat in the back, kind of kept to herself. But I could tell right away she wasn't like the others. When I talked, she actually listened. Not just nodded. Really listened. That's rare. He sipped from his glass, then looked me dead in the eye. And that night, when everyone was around the fire, she came and sat next to me. Didn't say anything. Just leaned in, like she already knew we'd end up together. Together. Like they were a thing. Like this wasn't a series of hidden texts in hotel rooms. Like she didn't have a ring on her finger and a husband she kissed on the cheek every morning. I kept my expression still. That night was, yeah. Let's just say I've never had someone get in my head like that. It wasn't just physical. It was like, he paused, searching for the right word, like we knew each other before we even spoke. And that's when I felt it. The first flash of something deeper than anger. It wasn't rage. Rage would have made me flip the table. This was colder. This was clarity. Because now I knew something I hadn't been sure about before. She wasn't manipulated. She wasn't lonely. She wanted this. She chased it. And maybe worst of all, she was good at it. That night, I walked home instead of driving. I needed air. Space. A way to stretch out the storm that had been building in my chest. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't punch a wall. I made a list. Back at home, I sat on the couch in the dark and opened a notebook. I wrote his name at the top, then hers below it. Then I started writing everything I knew, when they met, how they talked, what they did. I pulled up every screenshot, every bit of evidence I collected. I wrote until my hand cramped. It felt like taking back control. And once I'd filled 4 pages, I did something I didn't expect. I started planning the next meeting. We met again a week later. Different place, more casual. He was more relaxed this time. He started talking like I was a trusted confidant. We've been seeing each other pretty regularly, he said. Once, sometimes twice a week. She's always careful, though. Doesn't text much. Uses voice notes. Deletes them after. I raised an eyebrow. Smart. He nodded. She's got a system. Told me she's not trying to blow up her life. Just needs a place to breathe, you know? A place to breathe. That phrase stuck in my ribs like a shard of glass. Because I'd built her a whole world where she could breathe. A home. A life. And now some guy with good hair and a YouTube channel was the oxygen she'd been starving for? He kept talking. I think she's starting to catch feelings, though. Told me she sometimes dreams about what life would be like if things were different. That she never felt this scene. I almost laughed. Scene? I'd spent the last 6 years looking at her like she was the only thing in focus. She ever talk about her husband? I asked. He tilted his head. Once or twice. Said he's a good guy. Steady. Predictable. Doesn't ask a lot of questions. I swallowed the acid that rose in my throat. Sounds like she's lucky. He nodded. Maybe. But I don't think she wants lucky. I think she wants real. Real. I ended the night early. Told him I had another meeting. Paid the check. Walked out into the cold, damp air. And for the first time, I realized something. She didn't break my heart. She emptied it. And now I had all this space to fill with whatever I wanted. The question was, what would I build in the ruins? He told me he wasn't the only one. And just like that, the story changed. Up until that moment, I'd been working under a terrible but straightforward assumption. She had one secret lover. One betrayal. One line she'd stepped across. But now, it wasn't a line. It was a pattern. We were sitting on a rooftop patio, downtown. Sunset, low music, casual drinks. The kind of place people come to unwind and pretend life is lighter than it really is. And somewhere between his second beer and his fourth brag, he dropped it like it was nothing. There were a couple before me, you know. One guy from her gym, another from her book club. I think. Not sure how serious those were, though. I didn't move. I didn't blink. Just let the words sit there. He leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms, smiling like a man who just got a raise. It's like, she's got this edge. She's careful, but not new to this. You can tell when someone's practiced. Practiced. I nodded slowly. She ever tell you that? He shrugged. Not directly. Just little things. Timing. Places. The way she books hotels under different names. That sort of thing. Different names. That night, I went home and opened a spreadsheet. Labeled it Timeline. I started inputting everything I knew, dates, locations, messages, receipts. I started searching my own emails, past calendar invites, even old credit card statements. And then I did the thing I'd been avoiding. I bought 2 tiny wireless recorders. One went in my car, the other in hers. I told myself it was for clarity, for truth, for answers. But if I'm honest, it was the only way to stay sane. Because once you realize you've been living in someone else's fiction, the only way back is through the truth. The first recordings were quiet, pointless. But on the 5th day, I heard her phone call. She was laughing. No, I told him I was getting a facial. He doesn't ask, he just nods. It's honestly too easy. Then more laughter. A pause. A low, flirty voice. Yeah, I'll meet you at the Birchmont. Room 612. Same name as last time. I sat there listening in the driveway, hand frozen on the steering wheel. I didn't even know where the Birchmont was. I had to Google it. She'd made me feel like a stranger in my own life. A week later, I followed her. I had no plan. Just instincts and bad sleep and a growing sense that if I didn't do something, I'd dissolve completely. She left work at 5:41 p.m., took a different route than usual, parked in a covered garage and walked into the hotel like she owned it. I sat in my car across the street, hands gripping the wheel, watching her disappear through the glass doors. It hit me then, this wasn't impulsive for her. It was routine. She didn't check over her shoulder, didn't hesitate, like it was just another Thursday, like I wasn't even real anymore. That night, I saved the footage from the dash cam. I backed up the recordings. I created a new folder on my desktop, final proof. And then I sat on the floor of the living room in the dark, knees pulled to my chest, and just let the silence stretch out around me. Because now I knew, not just what she'd done, but who she really was. And knowing that, truly knowing it, meant I'd never be the same again. I asked her straight out. Nothing fancy. No setup. No emotion. Just 5 words. Are you seeing someone else? She was brushing her hair in the mirror, getting ready for bed. She didn't turn around. No. Why would you ask that? Her voice was calm, measured, almost bored. I watched her reflection instead of her body. Her eyes didn't flicker. Not even a pause in the brush. That's how I knew. When someone lies, there's usually a tremor, a glance, a flinch. But not her. She'd rehearsed this. I didn't answer. Just stood there, watching her move. She finished with her hair, put the brush down, and finally turned to face me. You're acting weird lately, she said. Paranoid. Am I? She nodded, arms folded across her chest. I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm tired of walking on eggshells. I almost laughed. Eggshells. Like I'd been the one hiding hotel visits and burner numbers. Like I'd been the one creating a double life while she slept beside me. I could feel the pressure building behind my teeth. I just thought I should ask, I said, so I could hear you lie to my face. Her eyes narrowed. Excuse me. You heard me. There was a pause. Then, like a switch, her tone shifted. You're being insane, she said. I don't know what you think you've seen, or what you're imagining, but this is toxic. Toxic. The word hung in the air like smoke. Heavy. Defensive. A buzzword meant to flip the script. She stepped closer. If you don't trust me, just say that. Don't do this passive-aggressive crap. It's beneath you. I let her talk. She needed me to fight. She wanted the argument. The yelling. Something to justify what she was doing or about to do. If I exploded, she could call me unstable. If I backed down, she could keep going. But I didn't do either. I nodded once. Okay. That was it. No follow-up. No anger. Just a quiet acceptance. Because the truth was, I wasn't asking for her confession. I already had it. On audio. On camera. On timelines and spreadsheets and witness accounts. I wasn't chasing proof anymore. I was watching the end. And it was weirdly peaceful. Like finally understanding a bad dream. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't want to share air with a lie. The next morning, I made coffee for both of us. Put hers in her favorite mug. The one that said, "Be here now." She smiled and thanked me. Kissed my cheek like it was any other Thursday. And I smiled back. Because that would be the last morning we ever shared as husband and wife. She just didn't know it yet. I took the day off. Used the time to finish organizing everything. Documents. Recordings. Financials. I called a lawyer, a quiet, smart one, and we had a very calm conversation about next steps. No drama. No panic. Just logistics. Because when something dies slowly, it doesn't need a funeral. It needs a file folder. That evening, she came home late. I didn't ask why. She dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, sat on the couch beside me like it was normal. And I realized then just how far apart we'd become. There were 6 inches of cushion between us, and it felt like a canyon. She reached for the remote. I reached for my phone, and I texted the lawyer one word. Ready. I moved out while she was at work. No note. No fight. No drama. Just silence. I packed 2 bags, one with clothes, one with everything I needed to start over. Passport. Laptop. Flash drive with all the evidence. And the key to the apartment I'd signed the lease on 3 days earlier. The place was small. Quiet. Empty, in a clean sort of way. The mattress was still in its plastic wrap. The fridge had nothing but water bottles and a leftover sandwich from the lawyer's office. It didn't matter. It was mine. At 4:17 p.m., I got the first text. Where are you? Then another. Then a call. I didn't answer. By 6:42 p.m., the messages changed tone. Is this a joke? Did something happen? Why are your things gone? Are you seriously doing this right now? I turned off notifications. Let her feel the quiet I'd been living in for months. The next day, she called from a different number. I answered. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe because I wanted to hear how she'd spin it. The moment I said hello, she broke. Why are you doing this? Her voice cracked, but it wasn't grief I heard. It was panic. I should be asking you that, I said. You're just gone? After everything? After everything? Yeah. That's exactly why. Silence. Then, softly, can we talk? I almost laughed. We could have. 100 times. You had your chances. She sniffed. I didn't think you knew. And you didn't care if I found out. That landed. I could hear it in her breathing. I made a mistake, she said. No, I corrected. You made a choice. Over and over again. There was a long pause. Then the shift I expected. You don't get to judge me, she snapped. You don't know what it's like. To live with you? I said, cutting in. I do. I did. And now I don't have to. I ended the call. 3 days later, she came to my office. I told the front desk not to let her up. Somehow she got through. I saw her in the hallway, same coat, same perfume, same tired tricks. Please, she said. Just 5 minutes. I stepped aside. Let her in. She didn't sit. I've lost everything, she said. I said nothing. I know you hate me. I know I messed up. But I never thought you'd actually leave. That made me smile. That's the problem, I said. You thought I'd stay. No matter what. She looked like she was trying to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. Do you want me to beg? She asked. I shook my head. I want you to be honest. With yourself. She stared at me like that concept had never crossed her mind. I didn't give her closure. I didn't offer comfort. Some things don't need soft endings. Some stories end like slam doors. And mine had just closed. I didn't say a word. She did all the talking to our friends, to her family, to anyone who would listen. And when the silence from me stretched longer than anyone expected, people started asking questions. That's when she got louder. He left without explanation. He just walked out. Didn't even try to fix things. He abandoned me. That word, abandoned, showed up in 3 different texts forwarded to me by mutual friends. One of them even asked me if I was okay, if I was having a breakdown, if I needed help. That's how good she was. She knew exactly how to bend the light so her shadow disappeared. I didn't correct her. Not yet. Letting her speak was like watching someone dig a grave and decorate it at the same time. Every story she told, every lie she repeated, it all came back around. People smiled to her face, but screenshots landed in my inbox. Quiet support. Silent apologies. Eyes slowly opening. But still, I said nothing. Because I wasn't going to fight for truth in whispers. I was building something bigger. The lawyer and I met twice a week now. Every meeting, we added layers, timelines, receipts, recordings, witness statements. Everything documented, cross-referenced, airtight. I wasn't just preparing to leave her. I was preparing to take back my name. To make sure that when this was over, there would be no doubt, no gray area, no confusion about who destroyed what. I knew she was starting to worry. She'd poke around through old friends, mutuals who weren't sure where to stand. I could always tell when someone had been briefed. Their tone changed. Their words got careful. But no one confronted me. That was the thing about people. They love the performance of neutrality. They love pretending they're not taking sides while quietly choosing one. And she counted on that. She weaponized that. I started keeping a log. Not just of facts, But reactions. Who believed what? Who changed the subject? Who offered silent glances and, I don't want to get involved, disclaimers? I wasn't just watching her. I was watching everyone. Because betrayal, I was learning, spreads. It spills. And it shows you who was really in your corner and who was just standing nearby. 2 weeks after I left, I ran into her sister at the grocery store. She looked tired, hesitant, like she wasn't sure if she should hug me or slap me. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Getting there. She paused, then leaned in. I don't know what happened. She's not saying much. Just that you left, and that she didn't see it coming. I didn't answer right away. Then I said, if she ever wants to tell the real story, I'm all ears. Her sister blinked. So there is a story? There's always a story, I said. The truth just takes longer to come out. She nodded slowly, then walked away without saying another word. The next week, one of our mutual friends texted me. A simple message. I didn't believe her. Just so you know. I didn't reply, but I saved it. That night, I got an email. No subject line. No greeting. Just 4 sentences. You're ruining my life. I hope you're proud. If you share anything, I'll make sure everyone sees what you're really like. You won't recover from it. I closed the laptop and breathed out slowly. It was the first time she'd broken silence since our last conversation, and it told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't just rewriting the story. She was losing control of it. And when someone like her starts losing control, they panic. They lash out. They throw whatever they can to try and regain power. But I wasn't flinching anymore. I began drafting my response. Not a letter. Not a revenge post. Something more methodical. I created a secure folder. Password protected. Structured. Timeline. Screenshots. Recordings audio only. Financial records. Testimonies anonymous. My own journal. Each category was labeled. Subfolders. Dates. Context. I wrote a narrative. Not dramatic, factual. A beginning, middle, and end. With nothing added, nothing embellished. Just her own words, actions, and silence, organized into something undeniable. And I had no intention of publishing it. Not yet. But the act of building it made one thing clear. If she ever wanted to play the victim in public again, I was ready to show the entire audience the unedited version. The real one. It wasn't a revenge post. It was a link. I didn't title it. I didn't explain it. I just dropped it into a few quiet inboxes, the ones that mattered. The friends who'd hesitated, the ones who asked, what really happened, the ones she had already turned against me with just enough spin to keep them unsure. The link led to a folder. One password. One condition. Watch it all. Don't message me unless you've finished. Inside the folder, the timeline, the screenshots, the receipts, the audio clips. Her voice, casual and confident, speaking about things she once denied with a straight face. The response came within hours. Some message just to say, I'm sorry. Some didn't message at all, but quietly unfollowed her. Others sent paragraphs. Stories about things they'd noticed but hadn't said. Little moments where her story didn't line up, but they hadn't wanted to assume. And just like that, her version cracked. She called me 3 times the next morning. I didn't answer. The 4th call came with a voicemail. I let it play out on speaker, sitting alone at my desk. You had no right, she said. You're trying to destroy me. That was private. Between us. You're turning people against me. You think this makes you better than me? I didn't respond. Because I wasn't doing it to feel better. I was doing it to be done. I went for a walk that night, same route I used to take when we were together. Past the bakery she loved. Past the bookstore where we spent rainy Sundays. Everything looked the same. But the way it was gone, there's something strangely quiet about finally being believed. You don't feel triumphant. You feel free. And freedom doesn't always come with joy. Sometimes it comes with a long, slow exhale you didn't realize you were holding. A week later, she posted something. A quote, white text on black background. Sometimes people leave because they were never truly seen. She turned off comments. Of course she did. Her last 3 photos disappeared. The ones of us. The ones where she still wore her ring. I didn't check often, but I saw the shift. The reshaping. She was trying to reclaim the story. But the air around it had changed. The people who mattered, they'd seen the truth. And that was enough. Still, a part of me wondered who she was now, behind all the silence. Was she reflecting, or just regrouping? Was she grieving the loss, or plotting the recovery? It didn't really matter. But it crossed my mind. A few days later, I got a message from someone I didn't recognize. A woman. She said she knew her. Said they'd been friends in college, reconnected recently, and had a falling out. She told me what happened. Not all of it, just the version where you were the bad guy. But after seeing that file, I had to say something. I believed her. I shouldn't have. She wasn't the only one. More messages trickled in. Not floods, just slow, steady drops. From people she'd worked with, old neighbors, distant cousins. Apparently, I wasn't the first person she'd rewritten. Just the first one who wrote back. I added a new file to the folder, reactions. It wasn't for them. It was for me. Screenshots. Quotes. Names redacted. Just proof that the world I thought I'd lost wasn't entirely gone. It had just been edited. And now, finally, I was editing it back. One night I sat down and read through everything again. Not to memorize it. Not to relive it. Just to feel the weight of it, one last time. And somewhere around page 93 of the timeline, I realized something. I had nothing left to prove. Not to her. Not to anyone. I had told the truth. And the truth stood. She called one more time. No message. Just the call. I stared at it. Watched it ring until it stopped. Then I turned off my phone. And opened the window. A breeze rolled in. Evening. Stillness. And in that moment, with the air clean and the sky quiet, I whispered to no one. Done. She moved on faster than I expected. Not that I was watching. But word finds you when it wants to. A mutual acquaintance sent me a message one morning. Just a screenshot. Her profile, her new photo. A man's arm in the frame. A soft caption underneath. New beginnings. New beginnings. She loved that phrase. She used it every January, like switching the calendar flipped her soul. But this time, it was different. Because this time, people weren't clapping in the comments. This time, they were quiet. I didn't feel bitter. Not really. I'd already detached, already done the grieving. Seeing her try to rebuild didn't stir anything in me. Not anger. Not jealousy. Not regret. It felt like watching someone reassemble a puzzle with missing pieces. You can see the outline. You can even guess the image. But something vital is gone. And no matter how hard you try, you can't fake the shape of what you lost. I didn't pity her. But I didn't envy her either. I spent more time alone. Not isolated. Just full. Like solitude had weight now, and I carried it without complaint. I went to work, came home, read more. Cooked for myself. Took walks. I didn't feel like I was waiting anymore. I was just living. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I started to feel like my life belonged to me again. Not shared. Not negotiated. Mine. But truth has long legs. And it doesn't stay buried. Her past caught up. Not all at once. Not dramatically. Just slow leaks. The guy she was seeing, he heard things. Not from me. Not directly. But the kind of things that ripple through a small city. She had told him I abandoned her. That I was cold. That she had tried, and I had vanished. But he had a friend. One of the people who had seen the folder. And one night, he asked a question she couldn't answer cleanly. From what I heard, it unraveled fast after that. I don't celebrate that. I didn't want her to be miserable. I just wanted to be free. But watching the truth do its slow, inevitable work, there was peace in that. Not satisfaction. Just peace. Like a field after a storm. Torn, muddy, but still standing. Still real. I started journaling again. Not the kind I'd kept during the collapse. Those pages were sharp-edged, survivalist. This was quieter. Reflective. What had I learned? What did I want to carry forward? What kind of man had I become? Some entries were a sentence long. Some spilled for hours. But they all pointed in the same direction. I wasn't broken. I wasn't cynical. I was clean. One day I saw her. At the farmer's market. I almost didn't recognize her. Not because of how she looked, but because of how I didn't feel. No weight in my chest. No echo in my gut. Just a moment. She saw me too. Our eyes met. She started to approach, then stopped. Just a half step. Like she wanted to say something, but couldn't find a reason to. I nodded. She nodded back. And that was it. Closure is strange. It rarely comes with words. Sometimes it's just the absence of pain where it used to live. Sometimes it's a breath you didn't realize came easy. Sometimes it's a look across a market, and nothing else. It had been a year. 12 months of quiet days and slow mornings. A year of my own rhythm. My own air. I wasn't counting days anymore. That stopped somewhere around month 4. When I stopped waking up with a lump in my chest. When the memory of her face no longer played on loop in my head. But it was still there, the shadow of it. A kind of scar memory. Something dull that flared if I pressed too hard. So I didn't press. I lived. And then, One Tuesday afternoon, I got a message. Not from her, but close. It was from her mom. We hadn't spoken in over a year. Not since the divorce was finalized. Not since her daughter tried to convince everyone I was the villain. But there it was. I know I don't have the right to reach out. But if you have 5 minutes, I'd like to say something. I stared at the message longer than I needed to. Debated opening it. Debated replying. Eventually, I typed back. Okay. She called the next evening. Her voice was quiet. Not fragile, just cautious. First, I want to say I'm sorry, she said. For everything. For not asking questions. For not seeing what was in front of me. I believe what she told me. And I shouldn't have. I didn't say anything. Just let her speak. She's different now? Quieter. I don't know if she regrets it all, but I know she's not proud of it anymore. Another pause. She's with someone else. But it's not the same. It's not real. And I think she knows it. I still didn't respond. I'm not calling to tell you she changed, she added. I just wanted to say you didn't deserve what happened. And I wish I had told you that sooner. That got me. Because sometimes it's not the person who hurt you that needs to apologize. Sometimes it's the people who stood by and let it happen. We talked for a few more minutes. Nothing heavy. Nothing loaded. Just acknowledgement. And when we hung up, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt lighter. It got me thinking. How much of what we carry isn't the wound, but the silence around it? The friends who drifted. The family who didn't ask. The people who looked away. That conversation cracked something open in me. Not pain. Not grief. Just space. Enough space to consider that healing wasn't something you did alone. That weekend, I wrote letters. Not to send, just to write. To the people who ghosted. To the people who stayed silent. To the ones who believed the lie and never asked for the truth. I wrote them out. Folded them. Burned them one by one in a metal bowl on my balcony. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't closure. But it was release. And after the last letter turned to ash, I poured myself a drink, stepped inside, and watched the sky turn dark with a quiet heart. It was a Tuesday. The kind that doesn't announce itself. Just sky and coffee and emails. I opened my inbox and found a message from a name I didn't recognize. No subject line. Just the text preview. You don't know me, but I read everything. My stomach tightened. I hesitated. Clicked. It was a long message. She said her name was Emma. That she'd been sent the folder by a mutual friend who thought she needed to see it. She didn't know me. Didn't know my ex-wife. But she knew the story. And something in it, the pain, the silence, the clarity, had opened something inside her. I don't know why I'm writing this. Maybe because I feel like I need to. Maybe because I've never seen someone tell the truth so cleanly. Not angrily. Just fully. She told me she was engaged once. Called it off after catching him lying. Not about another woman, about himself. Who he was. What he wanted. What he feared. I think betrayal isn't always about the action. Sometimes it's about the fact that someone let you believe in something they already knew wasn't real. She thanked me for putting the story out there. For being a mirror she didn't know she needed. And she ended with a line I'll never forget. You lost something, but you never let it take you. That gives people like me hope. I read it twice. Then I closed my laptop and just sat still. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't life-changing. But it was enough. Enough to remind me that stories don't just break, they build. And sometimes the debris becomes shelter for someone else. A few weeks later, I ran into an old friend. One of the few who stayed quiet when it all went down. We talked. Caught up. He apologized, not for what he did, but for what he didn't do. I should have checked in, he said. You did, I replied. No. We laughed. It felt good. I still think about her, sometimes. Not longingly. Not bitterly. Just occasionally, like you think about a house you once lived in. You remember the creaks in the floor. The way the light came through the blinds in the morning. You remember what it was like to live there. And then you remember why you left. My story didn't end with the file. Or the folder. Or the final voicemail. It ended here, in the quiet. And the fact that I could breathe without flinching. And the fact that someone out there, someone I'll probably never meet, read my story and felt less alone. That's the funny thing about pain. If you carry it long enough, and you carry it honestly, it stops being a weight. It becomes a bridge. And on the other side of that bridge, there's no need for revenge. No need for a reckoning. Just space. Room to rebuild. Room to begin again. Not as the man who was betrayed, but as the man who survived it. And finally let it go. The end.